Hi! Welcome to Curious Endeavourances, the club where we read anything and everything. If you haven't been here before, basically we are a book club. So yeah, books. That's what's happening. Free time.
Books.
Yeah. So we basically run our thing through Goodreads. I will be posting links below later. You can check us out, you can join, you can see what we've read, what we're going to read. There's discussions, there's awards, there's events like this one, which happen at the end of every month, and we discuss what we have read that month.
All around good times.
And sometimes we blog a review about it if you want a written review that's actually a bit more concise and less tangency.
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
Depends who wrote it.
Yeah, more likely.
Okay, introduction.
Introduction. I hear Swedish and sneaking in there.
English. I'm speaking English tonight. Okay. Ashley Newell.
Hi. We've got our new member today, so it's who knows the order is going to be in. Hi, I'm Ashley. You've probably seen me before because I've been here every book since. No, we didn't film Titus Grown since.
We filmed Titus Grown.
Did we film Titus Grown?
I think the Reluctant Fundamentalist was the first one.
No, Titus was the first.
Titus was the first?
Was it?
Since like a year ago, when 2
Sorry,
years
I
ago.
have all of them. Trust
2
me,
years
Titus
ago, when it has all began. I am typically the loud one, but it's a new year. Maybe I'll take a new role.
I think you might be outmatched.
That's okay.
There was Julian
only in
Wilson.
pitch and frequency, not in any sort of other way. You know. Well, I guess I'll say hello. I'm the new person.
Natasha's on.
Welcome, Natasha!
Hi, welcome.
Okay, and Natasha Dewey.
Hello, welcome. I guess you are welcoming me. Thank you very much.
You can welcome the viewers.
Well, I will welcome you all viewers. I want to preface my introduction by saying this is my Kale Juice Gregory. He's quite fantastic. And I've had 2 hours of sleep, so hello. Don't expect my comments to be very concise.
Hey.
I enjoy that the Kale Juice has a name. Welcome, Gregory.
Gregory! Okay, there you go.
Okay, Julianne Wilson. Say hey.
Hi.
Oh, jeez. And I'm Caitlin Perry, and I apologize for my Swedish.
Oh my gosh.
I've been speaking Swedish all afternoon, so I'm kind of brain dead. Hi. So this month we read the Rosie Project, which was Ashley's pick. So if you want to do the honors, Ashley.
All right. Wife wanted. Must be punctual, logical, and enjoy traveling by bicycle. No smokers, drinkers, or horoscope readers need apply. Don Tillman has a brilliant scientific mind, but social situations confound him. He's never had a second date. And so, in the evidence-based manner in which he approaches all things, he embarks upon the Wife Project, a 16-page questionnaire to find the perfect partner. Then, in walks Rosie Jarman. Rosie is on a quest of her own. She's looking for her biological father, a search that a certain genetics expert might just be able to help her with. Soon, Dawn puts the Wife Project on the back burner in order to help Rosie pursue the Father Project. As an unlikely relationship blooms, Dawn is about to realize that, despite the best scientific efforts, you don't find love, love finds you. So that was my pick to start off this year. It came highly recommended from several individuals. It's been all over book clubs. Every time I turn around, there's always someone new reading it. So as soon as it was recommended, I picked it up and said, this is a must. And initial impressions from our panel. Greg gets in the background. It wasn't that bad, guys.
No. You know what's actually so funny that strikes me, which I totally love, and this is obviously just because of my character. I loved how straightforward and scientific it was written. Like, I love the fact that it was put forth in like his point of view, where everything's just like logical and rational statements. Like, I just love that because like being a science person myself, like that's kind of like how I think a lot of the time. So reading this kind of, I mean, it's a love story, right? It's a cheesy, romantic love story, but it being put forth in this like rational, analytical way was like just such a nice juxtaposition. And I love that because so many times like I find myself thinking that way, and it was like really cool to have that kind of novel presented like that. I liked that about it.
See, and I liked it for similar reasons, not because I'm a scientific person, but because my husband is.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm way more
You're
like
Rosie.
I mean, my husband is not anywhere to this degree, but he was definitely very like practical and scientific minded and very structured. So it's just like seeing the inside of it. I was like, oh, well, I know him better. So he can read Sometimes the Magic Works, and I get to read this, and then he can understand writers, and I can understand scientists.
Yay!
All right. I was admittedly a little bit less enamored with that style. I found it hilarious, but I did find it hard to relate to. So that caused a little bit of issue for me because I'm not scientific or logical in many ways. So for me, there was a bit of a, wait, what? Hilarious. But difficult to relate to. And then there's that bit near the end where all of a sudden all of the emotions are kind of smacking you upside the head. And for that glorious moment, I was like, oh my god, I get you! And then that moment ended.
I also loved the unique style because, I mean, you can have any boy meets girl story, right? They're so generic, but it was really the narrative tone that set this one apart, getting that different perspective. Having worked with different levels of autistic spectrum, and I think anyone who's sat through a couple episodes of Big Bang Theory can already put a picture onto Don Tillman's face and see how this plays out. I loved the narrator. I was on and off with Rosie more than Don. But yeah, Don, the most lovable character that I think I've encountered in a long time.
I love Don.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with the whole thing where Rosie kind of pissed me off sometimes. Like, stop being so emotional, bitch. Like, just get it together, you know? But, like, I really liked him how he kind of just, like, analyzed what was going on. And even when he didn't figure it out or couldn't understand it just because of his own limitations, he still, like, wanted to get further into the problem and understand it and come at the problem from different angles. I really, like I said, like, I related to him because he looked at this whole situation of love, which obviously is a foreign concept to someone who's so crazy, maybe in the spectrum of autism, who knows, because he like still wanted to go there even though he really was out of his depth. Like, I really like that about him. Whereas Rosie was like this bundle of emotions, which I don't get.
Well, and that was the thing, because I'm not a very like outspoken extroverty type person, so even when Rosie's just like rampaging through, even if I'm not that particular, I'm particular enough that I'm like, well, you can't just charge it. Like, I don't have everything down to a T on my schedule, but still, like, you are kind of just taking over like a bulldozer here.
Yeah. I think that was my biggest issue with her. Like, I loved it, but there were moments where I was like, yes, he needs to kind of step outside his mold a little, but I mean, stepping outside is the same as being thrown off the balcony. Like,
yeah, the balcony dinner for two, not a huge thing, but still, you did just invite yourself over to kind of do all of it.
Yeah, like, and he adapted really well. But for me, like, and that's the funny thing is, like, for me, I would have been like, I'm just going to drink wine from the bottle now because you're stressing me out that much. The fact that you invited yourself into my home, I'm not okay with that.
I did love the whole Rosie time thing, though.
We gotta work on Rosie time. Yeah.
She's like, what time would it be? Well, let's just adjust the clock. I'm like,
yeah, that was cute.
Yeah, that was cool.
That was the other lovable thing about Don, because as particular as he is surprisingly open to the learning new things. I think because he is so aware that he doesn't fit, so he knows that he constantly has to adjust. So I think that's the other thing that makes him really lovable, is just that he is so giving in that way. Like, there are social cues and norms that he misses, but he's so freaking accommodating every single time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He has a good awareness that he doesn't get it, so he's very, very open to the suggestions and how to fit.
He's trying to get it. Like there's like the whole point of like he goes on these dates and you know.
Oh, they're so fucking dates.
Oh, that
was the first one. He's like taking down the security at the restaurant.
So good. I loved how he presented that information. Be like, oh, obviously I'm just, you know, gonna sit on this guy and secure him because he's being, you know, very offensive. Like, I loved how he just thought the problem was just so straightforward.
Even the jacket, he's like, but this is a very expensive, practical jacket. Look at that man's jacket. It serves no purpose. This is a fine jacket.
That was my favorite part about reading his thought process, though, because, of course, we've grown up, at least those of us here, knowing and understanding those social cues. So if you say requires that jacket, you know what kind of jacket they mean. Mm-hmm. And they're like, this really is just like a learned social thing, and that happens to him a lot. And you're just like, yeah, that makes sense. Like, my favorite is whenever anyone uses sarcasm around him.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, oh God, where is it? I have it. No, where are you? No, I know you're here. Okay, well, basically it's like when Jean's wife says, like, oh, you were thinking about sex? Wow, that's changed from normal. And then Dawn's like, I don't know why she would make this statement, because he seems to think about sex all the time.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, and like, social cue. But, and then, like, I mean, a lot of it is learned, and, like, to me, it's like, obviously a jacket means bring a proper dinner jacket. Like, this. Mm-hmm. But then when you're rationalizing it, you're like, that does make sense.
Totally.
Yeah.
And his was definitely more practical.
Yeah.
We just see the dinner in brackets before jacket, and he doesn't have that.
Yeah, exactly.
That kind of view. I agree. I also really liked how, like, this was a recurring theme. True, it was, like, subtle, but I liked how it kept, like, coming back to this, like, the difference between, like, you know, like, the human animal instinct and that of, like, the rational human world. Like, he's really obviously that, and then Rosie's the other way, and so, like, Jean obviously is all animal instinct. And I like that, how they kept, like, kind of, like, be, like, where is it appropriate to be, you know, that more rational human, and when you just have to be, you know, your animal instincts. Like, where is that? How do you learn that? I really like that, how it kept coming up.
And that was lovely that we had that range of character trait, because like you said, we've got our very logical Don Tillman, who's not necessarily outside of any of it. He's just trying to figure out where it all fits. He's the one that's learning the balance. And then you have someone who is all instinct like Jean, and then you have someone who is all, I think, grounded like Jean's wife. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about that other relationship that exists in the Rosie Project. Any thoughts, opinions on the marriage that Don is getting his advice from?
Well, okay, ignoring Jean's inadequacies, if you just look at the way they dealt with Don, I thought it was so interesting. Like, God, it's been so long since I read it. But just obviously, like, Jean just being like, just go do it, kind of like. But whereas she was being more like, you know, I sent this present with you. Maybe you want to wear his pants. Maybe you want to try this. Like, I'm again, it's the gentle push, right? It's like, I'm trying to help you, but I understand that you have your own reasons for.
Well, that's why Dawn liked going to her, and sorry, for the life of me, I can't remember her name.
I know.
Claudia.
Yes, Claudia. Thank you. And he loves that she breaks it down in terms that he can understand, and that's why he tends to go with her, even for things that, like, you feel so bad for her, because he'll be like, so I noticed that Jean does this and has this, but I want you to explain to me this, and he doesn't pick it up, but I can just picture the look on her face and what must be going through her mind, because you can't blame Dawn. Dawn's just saying it as it is, and she just lays it out as logically as he can interpret, and it's just like, oh, poor woman.
Well, and like when Dawn will say, like, oh, Jean's doing this.
But I love that there was that bit, though, in the end where he was like, hold on, I need to do something about this.
Yes.
But like, I I'm not frozen,
No,
right?
you're good. No,
No.
you're good.
Good.
It was just a little delay. Yeah, no. Oh, we lost Natasha.
Uh-oh.
Oh no, we did.
Maybe that was the delay. Oh, there she is.
That could be.
Gregory, you terrible kale juice! I told you not to do that. Don't play with the computer, Gregory. The kale juice is just a
Never play with
you
a
know.
computer.
Yeah, the kale juice just wanted to shut off the computer for some reason. Sorry, guys.
Gregory's going to be
I'll keep him in
from
check,
the book
okay?
club.
Gregory. You
Oh, interesting that we're having this conversation. While we've been talking, I took the quiz on the book's website.
quiz?
There was they had the Rosie Project quiz on there?
It has the Rosie Project quiz, but also has the character review. So I am not Rosie incompatible, but I am the next highest level of incompatible to Dawn.
Could you post that link on
that's
the
pretty cool.
discussion forum? I would like to take that at some point.
Yeah. Oh, I just found it while I was looking earlier. So I did the which character are you, and I am Claudia.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
Curse you. I know it makes sense. On the other hand, like, I want to be Rosie, but I'm definitely not Rosie.
There's no way in hell I am spontaneous enough for Rosie. And then I've got other issues with Rosie, but I'll get to that later.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, right? And I'm like, yeah, no, I'm Claudia. But, yeah, like when he wanted to do something about it, but before he wanted to, like, he would say, like, oh, the staff party or whatever it was. And she's like, what? No, what staff party? He never told me. Like...
Oh, yeah, the ball.
Like, there would just be little things that, Dawn would say about, like, he flirts with women all the time. Like, he doesn't seem to understand that his sleeping with other women is, like...
Yeah.
Well, he even openly, at one point when he's talking to his friend, he even says, like, well, you've got an open marriage. It's like, just don't congratulate Claudia on that.
Yeah, it's like...
Yeah.
That's
true.
Exactly what you think it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he knows it's wrong, but also he's not really acknowledging that fact.
Which is another thing that makes Jean so interesting, and I think you were right to kind of frame it that way, Caitlin, about how he is with Dawn versus how he is in his love life and his kind of his womanizing, because he isn't necessarily a bad person.
Totally.
When you think about, how much he is trying to help Dawn in some ways, but his intentions do get rather skewed from his...
Yeah. He's definitely a thrill seeker, right? He wants Dawn to have, like, a crazy life because he wants to live vicariously through that, because he's obviously always wanting that next kind of high. He wants to be kind of young again, sleeping around, doing crazy things, even though I think what it says is that he's in his 50s. So he's trying to keep that sort of intensity in his life.
So I'm just answering. We have a couple of people asking if this is an open chat.
Yeah.
So, we are taking questions about the book.
Yeah, we're taking questions in the Q&A about the book from anybody, but the actual video discussion chat is just pre-the members.
Gotcha.
For now. So, ask away, whatever, but...
We can always share your comments. Yeah, we can always share your comments on the video. We're not necessarily having a side panel discussion going on, just because we have to interact with everyone that's watching as well. But if you've got something relevant about the book, we will definitely do a shout out.
Oh, exciting.
Yeah, so sorry, just because we had a couple people ask.
And I guess that's another good thing to mention to our viewers as well, is we'll try this year to keep those kind of discussions open, just because we do try to keep the Twitter feed and the Google Plus feed and all that stuff open, but sometimes we miss some, so we're trying to catch your interactions as they come along. We're doing our best, but sometimes we get really into what we're talking about. We don't notice, so we apologize. But another reason, you can always go into our Goodreads page and drop your questions and comments before the hangout, and that way we definitely have time to check them over and can incorporate it in. But yes, if anything comes up or you want to join into the discussion, feel free to leave your comments as we go.
Anyway, sorry, I just...
Excellent segue. Well done.
You had a couple of pop up all at once. I wanted to.
Yep. While we're talking about Jean, what do you make of Jean letting Dawn believe that Rosie's a candidate while he's simultaneously going through all of Dawn's candidates for his own private purposes?
I can understand. Yeah, I understand at first because maybe he thought, well, I think a good friend would think, yes, this could be an interesting pair. Yes, she's a candidate. But on the other hand, like, you know, it started to become a problem, like when he'd be like, oh, Jean gave you this book of sexual positions. And it's like, Jean gave it to you? Because, of course, the problem is he didn't understand their relationship.
Yeah.
Like, he just like, yes, she's a candidate. She also happens to be from my class, FYI. Like, you know, he didn't fill in any of the other blanks. That might have helped a little bit.
Well, would it have helped, though? Because it was because he kind of just dismissed her that it allowed him to be comfortable to kind of just like, oh, okay, we're just going to have this project. Like, it's purely professional. And that's, like, what allowed him to kind of get to know her. Like, I think had he known, like, because obviously she's like, oh, like, just a barmaid, like, she's totally below my standards and not even part of the wife project. Like, this kind of, like, made him be a little bit more
So she was part of the wife project.
Well, but he had, like, what is it? Jean said, oh, yeah, I threw her in as, like, a wild card.
Yeah.
So, obviously, like, in his mind, he was like, oh, like, he must have just, like, thrown her in even though she failed the test.
But he'd already accepted that she wasn't going to be a good candidate, and he went on for the Father Project. So I don't know if it really would have made a difference, because if he dismissed her off the first or not, of, oh, no, it's not an actual candidate, she didn't actually fill out the form, because he'd already decided, no, she doesn't fit any of the criteria at all. So forget that, she's not my wife, I'm going to keep finding my wife, because he does, for the longest time, is still trying to interview other people. But it's the Father Project that piques her interest. So that never would have been like interrupted from Jean.
But don't you think like how he treats her would be differently? Because initially he thinks that, oh, she's just like this like young dumb girl. Because obviously like he's a scientist. Everything he values is knowledge and academics and having that mind. So those who are like below him, he doesn't really see in that same level. So I think just like had he known that she was like a PhD student and she actually did have a mind and did get what like the 75 on that whatever the hell test it was, like I think he would
the SAT test.
Yeah, whatever the hell that thing is. I don't know.
Yeah.
Gregory agrees with me, by the way.
In his newly found calm state.
Yes.
I do think that would have been interesting if he'd known that she had actually gotten that score though, because
well, even when she says the score and she downplays it, like when they're interviewing the potential father, and
well,
he's like, "Why would you say that number?" Well, I wanted, I needed him to think that I had a chance, and then she denies that she actually got it for the longest time. So it's interesting that she would also play the dumb barmaid card.
Well, I think it pissed her off that he would be judging that way, so she was kind of like, fine.
Yeah, I agree with that. Totally.
I had the relationship with just find my father, so like he doesn't need to know who I really am.
Yeah, I respect that too.
Yeah.
I respect the fact that she's just like, well, dude, you're obviously just going to judge me, so fuck you. I hope this chat is PG-13, by the way, because I swear a lot.
Yes,
sorry, guys.
We'll go back and add the bleeps.
This is a live chat. To answer your question.
All live, so that's why it wasn't bleeped at the moment.
Oopsies.
I can't believe it.
Gregory, what are you doing?
Gregory, you damn fool.
Maybe brought a friend.
Yes, it's true. Trying to think, what else did I pick up on this?
What do you think about Don and his amazing prowess for a variety of different feats, including bartending, or mixology, I should say, more than anything. Dancing, which was sexual
Questionable.
positions and wall crawling like Spider-Man.
We're supposed to be
The
honest,
wall
we didn't
crawling
know
is pretty
exactly-
cool.
Yeah, we didn't exactly know how well he did with the sexual positions outside of an anatomical skeleton dummy.
This is true.
We don't know
Poor
his
skeleton.
actual. We don't know his actual like.
But he felt confident with it. He said it was far easier than the cha-cha, and he was looking far more forward to it than that.
Yeah. As far as the bartending, I understand because having such a practical, analytical mind, you're just memorizing more. It's math.
Yeah.
Formulas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah, formulas.
I
Yeah,
agree.
thank you. That's the word. So the part that was amazing to me was the getting past the social awkwardness. You know.
Well, did he though?
He
Like,
picked up all
didn't
those-
he
he
just?
picked up all the cues.
But did he though? Because the way that I kind of interpreted it is that he was just wowing them with his kind of detached and rational point of bartending. He was like, he's going around all the tables and just being like, "Would you like this? This is this. I will repeat.
I
I'll
don't
order
think
back to
he
you.
was
Like,
that
I'm very
detached
cool."
to them.
But what about the names? What about the names? He knew that was when he learned the trick, right? If you use the name, people.
But he didn't think of it himself. He had to be told
No,
to do
but
that.
it was still something that he learned, and he was applying all those cues that he's been learning of. This is proper social interaction. If I can remember what you ordered and your name and recite it back to you. I mean, there was part of the I need that trick to be able to figure out who's who, but it actually made that open camaraderie. I was going to mention the one scientist person who was determined to test and like orders like the biggest, most ridiculous thing ever,
Yeah.
and he's like, I will figure this out. I will do this.
And it ends up that he's just actually just like in a backwards way, just ordering like a standard martini. Yeah. And of course, and that same guy made a comment being like, he was, there was his wife, I think it was, that made the comment like, stop, stop, like, teasing the guy because he's not as smart as you. And then, of course, in his mind, he responds while saying like, oh, I guess, like, what is it, like, neural activity has nothing to do with actual cognitive function. Here's a good essay that you should read in order to, brush up your knowledge on that. Like, even though he realized that he was being insulted, he didn't react in that same sort of social way.
Not in the emotional way.
Yeah, he was like, oh, here's a problem. Let me give you the answer.
Yeah.
So I don't know, like, I mean, you're right. Like, he definitely did kind of correlate that to be like, oh, this is how, like, I get people to be more engaged by, like, the names. But, like, I don't know how much he really grew in a social context because he still looked at things in that way.
He had fun with it, though, and that was the growth. That was the growth. He was having fun outside of his schedule.
That is true.
So much so that he was contemplating getting a job as a
mixologist
bartender.
Can you imagine? That'd be so funny.
Oh
he was good at it. He'd get good tips.
Trying to think.
He's so
what else.
frustrated.
So funny.
They didn't have the stock
Sorry?
When they didn't have the stock of all the things and the other bartenders
the
didn't know what to
sage
make.
and pineapple margaritas. Yeah.
Like, oh, he wants this. He wants this. What?
What the hell is
What is that? This is random. I memorized all the drinks ever.
That's true. Although that is pretty cool. That how he could just, like, people would tell him the different kind of alcohols, and he would just, like, what was one line that I loved so much? Someone said, oh, like, is there a drink with such and such and such and such? And he's like,
it's like a mental catalog.
Yeah, he's like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm re-indexing my mental catalog. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, that's such a cool line.
Mine powers. Awesome. That was
But I could picture it. I could picture the catalog the whole way.
Yeah, yeah. Coffee break.
Oh my god. But since we brought up, like, the sexual dummy, one of my favorite things that I just remembered forever after is when Jean's asking him, like, have you actually ever had sex?
Mm-hmm.
He's like, oh, of course, and it's at page 175. Of course, I said. My doctor is strongly in favor. And then he explained further, it's just that adding a second person makes it more complicated.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And Jean's just like, naturally, I should have thought of that. Because, of course, like, it's like the social cues. Like, we just understand, like, if you say, have you ever had sex, you immediately, put the brackets with another person.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But not the straightforward,
Any type of sexual activity.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh, I found that cha-cha line. I like it.
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
It did not take long, less time than learning the cha-cha. In terms of reward for effort, it seemed strongly preferable to dancing, and I was greatly looking forward to it.
Oh gosh, I just love how he says things.
So he's going through the book, and this is 174. It was called the Reverse Cowboy Position, Variant 2. I tried it. Simple. But as I had pointed out to Jean, the problem was the involvement of the second person. I got the skeleton from the closet and arranged it on top of me, following the diagram on the book.
I love how right after is when the freaking Dean walks in with the donor.
Yep.
Yeah, the book is wide open, the
Yeah.
skeleton is straddled on top of him, and he says, I don't think you're paying your academic staff enough.
Like, God, I don't remember why this is happening. This is a tangent too, but it's also just as funny. When something about he's questioning his own morality. It's on page 281, but he's like, when he had questioned Jean's morality, Jean had told him this joke. Jesus addresses the angry mob who are stoning a prostitute. Let he who is without sin cast the first stone. A stone flies through the air and hits the woman. Jesus turns around and says, "Sometimes you really piss me off, mother."
Yes, that one was clever.
Yeah, I
That
just
was
laughed
good.
so hard because it comes across I'm like, wait, who's still throwing stones? Isn't the whole point that no one is without sin?
Yeah.
The woman who
course.
didn't have sex.
Yeah, Virgin Mary. And then, I could no longer be equated with the Virgin Mary. It's like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah.
One of the first ones, page 3, just because we were talking about the tone that he uses and how wonderfully it is. So when he's first kind of coming up with the idea of finding a mate and how to logically put it together, and he's determining why he's not had success. Logically, I should be attractive to a wide range of women. In the animal kingdom, I would succeed in reproducing.
Yeah, I like that
Just-
line. Once again, like it's showing like the difference between like humanity as these like self-aware people and humanity as animals.
Yeah,
We're a bit of both. And how do you get that balance?
logically, a
Page-
woman is looking for the perfect mate to protect her babies. It's like, yeah, but not all of them. Like,
True.
Page 7, because Jean, doing his womanizing, he has his names for the women he encounters. So there's Julie, who is the blonde with big tits, and Dawn knows that these are the names, quotation names for these women, but logically, he has to think about it. And in fact, her breasts were probably no more than 1.5 standard deviations from the mean size of her body weight, and hardly a remarkable identifying feature.
it was more a question of
Analyzing
elevation and exposure.
Yes. As a result of her choice of costume, which seemed perfectly practical for a hot January evening. So it's just not like... It's not that she actually does have big tits, it's just
They're there.
practical clothing for the weather.
Hot January evening.
Oh,
When
oh,
I guess
and
in
when-
Australia it's hot.
okay, sorry, I'm just like going through
Tangents.
my post-its as I see them.
Yeah.
So page 11, he was spontaneously given the lecture to give, and so he's trying to, engage with people and ask the questions. The woman in the rear raises her hand. So
Oh no.
the fat woman,
yeah.
the overweight
okay.
woman in the back, because he has to, he knows these social cues. You can't call people fat. Overweight woman in the back.
Still not okay. Still
Somehow
not
that's
okay.
a little nicer. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's better than fat, but it's still not okay.
It is a really cool statement. Like, how do we just intuitively know that that's inappropriate, but yeah, you could say something different? Like, how do we know that distinction? Like, that's one thing I loved about the book that I kept bringing up. Like, how is the social norm the norm? Because all that means is that it's just the average idea of what we think.
Yeah, but because
know, I like that.
anyone else would be more likely to say the woman in the pink
Black or
shirt.
something. Yeah, exactly.
The woman with the dark hair, the woman.
But if you analyze it, it's just pick one distinguishing feature that separates that person from the others. And if that's the formula, just pick a distinguishing feature, you are fatter than anyone else in this room as a female. So, female fat woman. There's other people in red. There are other people in blue. There are other people with glasses. You are the fat woman.
Yeah. How is it that is not okay? But say the glasses is. It's an interesting fact. Like, why is that the social norm? How do we get
when
that?
glasses you could interpret as being a fault? It's like, oh, I'm now acknowledging that your vision is not perfect.
Correct.
Right, there we go.
Yeah, that's very true. That's very true.
I think I'd say it's the choice of glass. I mean, it's not a choice for everyone. There are people who can't wear contacts or get surgery, but it's more like things that you are putting on yourself, clothing, accessories.
Yeah, a style.
Yeah. It gets tagged as an accessory.
Yeah, your hair color might not be real. Your eye color might not be real. You might have colored contacts. I get that all the time.
Really?
Oh, have you seen her color? They're crazy intense blue.
No, it's so many people ask for that. Do you wear contacts? Yes. Oh, they're really pretty. What makes they're clear? It's not even if you wear colored contacts. It's just the assumption that if you wear, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
But, I mean, but that's the thing. Like anything else, but your shape and size and like there are certain things that are not
fixed.
I don't shave them at the end of the night. I guess.
Trying to go through my post-it notes too, and it's so funny. There's like so many. Like the first chapter, the second chapter is like a little cut less, and then like by midway through, I'm like, nope, no more post-it notes.
Yeah, as you read faster and faster, it's just like
yeah, exactly.
When Rosie goes to, I think she's taking him to the beach at this point. Anyway, they're in the car. She's cranked up the music, and his reaction is because he's now off schedule and she's taking a different route and all this. I was being kidnapped.
Yeah, I like that. That was good.
At the end,
full-grown man being kidnapped.
At the end after they're married, sex solves the body contact problem.
Ooh, the hug.
Now we're also able to hug without having sex, which is obviously convenient at times.
Yes, I have that one flagged too. Yeah.
Yes, that would be oddly convenient.
To be able to hug without just having sex.
Like not public, private, it doesn't matter. Sometimes a hug is just a hug, guys.
There you go. Oh, it's just so funny.
Looking at the end there, the confrontation, Phil, Jean, 360, and again, just looking at Dawn's perspective, I realized that under the traditional rules of romantic behavior, it was correct for Phil to assault Jean.
Yes.
Correct Animal Kingdom behavior.
Once again, I like that. Like, it shows, like, how do we mix that whole, like, in the animal world, that totally makes sense. Maybe socially, it's a gray area. Like, is it okay or not? Depends on the situation, but how do we define it as okay or not?
Because legally, you are not allowed to assault people.
Exactly.
So first, personal defense, in which, with the jacket incident, he didn't intentionally hurt anyone. He was defending himself because they were coming at him. So logically, it was self-defense. Yeah. But in this case, where it was technically, physically unprovoked, all right, we can make these exceptions because of the potential seducing of someone else's partner.
Yeah. It's just interesting, like, where do we draw these social lines?
Yeah. Of course, that's a social line. He could still technically sue.
That's true.
In certain countries, at least. I'm not really actually sure which, but.
And I've got a couple of the heartwarming ones where Dawn has a self-realization. Where is it? I had my sticky. Oh, was that sticky? Well, the first one is after he delivers the lecture, and it's that foreshadowing moment of humans often fail to see what is close to them and obvious to others, not realizing that he fits so many of the characteristics that he just lectured about. And at the end, as he's making the list of all the lessons he had learned, and I love this one on, it starts 308, but I'm going to the last one on 309. I I had a great deal of valuable knowledge about genetics, computers, aikido, karate, hardware, chess, wine, cocktails, dancing, sexual positions, social protocols, and the probability of 56-game hitting streak occurring in the history of baseball. I knew so much shit, and I still couldn't fix myself. Oh, Dawn.
I like that. I like that a lot.
Oh.
And of course, the realizing that the questionnaire wasn't actually intended to find a wife; it was to find someone who would, but to find someone who might accept me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a
Because that was my
self-portrait.
thing. I don't know if you guys took it, but I took it before I even read the book. And
I didn't know that was there. I should have done it.
That's so cool.
No, it's in the back of my book. Like, I didn't use the website. I used the back of my book.
Well, why does it have a cool lobster on it, so I don't have the thing?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe if it's not in your edition.
Why is there
we have the bike.
why is there a bike on the thing?
Because he rides his bike.
The bike reference.
He bike rides.
Oh,
That's
really?
how he
That's
commutes.
it? And a lobster I get, but the bike? Nah,
Well,
weak.
but like, as I took some of the questions before I'd even met Dawn. Like, I obviously love Dawn, but I didn't even care if I was compatible. I got to a point where it's like, my favorite ice cream flavor, aside from the fact that my favorite ice cream flavor isn't on here. Chocolate, 0 points. Vanilla, 0 points. Fruit flavor, 0 points. Vegan, 1 point. I don't eat ice cream because I'm on the diet, 0 points. Also, all flavors taste the same, 5 points.
Ooh.
Because of course, because of the ice cream incident, right? So he's looking for someone who doesn't care about the flavor. And I was
Which
just like,
I disagreed with him from the start about there's no difference between peach and apricot. I'm like, I don't know. I think I could tell. And then he tried it, and he's like, oh my goodness, there is a difference.
watching sport. So I lost 5 points. Watching sport is my obsession, minus 5 points. You only get points if you say it's interesting because of the statistics, or if you say it's a complete waste of time.
But remember,
Two
he
very
does
different
adjust his questionnaire as
It does, but of
learn
course,
more.
but this is me taking it before I've read the book.
Yeah.
And thinking, I'm going to hate this guy. Like, there were some questions where I was just like 100% in agreement. I take my coffee black. But like, I would bounce between max points or 0 or minus points. Like, I didn't usually get the middle range.
Talking about the questionnaire, we have that professional dancer who met most of the criteria on the questionnaire that he took to the ball. What did you make of her? Again, I don't remember her name because I'm a goldfish. But what did you make of our acceptable female wife candidate?
I hated her.
Yeah.
She was very overbearing about Bianca. That was it. Was that it?
Maybe
That sounds
we
right.
don't drink. Like, it was very, like, I found her very controlling, too. Like,
Yeah.
Especially as someone who does not drink, and I totally understood his idea of just because he drinks, finding someone who doesn't drink would help him moderate himself. And so why that would be preferable to little to no consumption. So I'd understand that, but just that overbearingness of her assuming that he also fits all those other things that he's looking for. So if the acceptable answer is you shouldn't drink, then clearly he should also not drink. So before he can even say anything, he's like, no, we don't drink.
Yeah, I thought it was like,
but I wouldn't jump in and start assuming other people.
exactly.
I know I'm an anomaly.
We lost Natasha, FYI.
Yeah, I
I
know
see
this.
that.
So we'll see.
Gregory.
God.
Blame
I have
the
to
kale juice.
sing. No, this totally inspired me. Curse you, My Little Pony.
Yeah, no, Bianca was interesting.
Yeah, that, like you were saying, like, it's the assumption that he doesn't drink too, and just jumping in, like, you can't let him say it. Or maybe it's like, I drink at balls. Like, there are exceptions. I drink at weddings and balls. Like, I feel like,
Well, and there's always that
wine
question of
yeah.
but there's also that question of what people say versus what they mean again, right? That social standard. Because when I say I don't drink, people assume I just don't drink excessively. When I then have to explain not at all, there's that, wait, no, people don't not drink anything ever. I'm like, yeah, this one. So there's still that possibility that if it says you do not drink, someone could interpret it as the
But I got that
excessively.
too, planning your bachelorette, right? Because I don't said something about.
And even people I know hitting that wall of, wait, you mean like at all?
Well, I got
thought we were
I
friends.
some questions about like is it because of this or because of this or because like why doesn't she drink? Like she just
Is she
doesn't.
religious or pregnant? Or is there a health concern?
Is she allergic to alcohol?
Let's just say
know.
I'm Mormon and go from there. Let's just say that.
But that's the thing, right? Like if you don't, there must be a reason. It's like no,
I can't like choose things. But that funny thing is, do you know who understands me? Vegetarians who are vegetarian by choice, because they have to deal with the same crap because they get so what if I actually like gave you meat or slipped meat into your sandwich? What would happen then? Like what if I made you, and then they're like, I would just not eat it. Or if it was there, okay, I'd deal with it, but I wouldn't enjoy what was happening and I would feel betrayed. So they understand what I'm going through because they have to put up with the same crap for another source.
I know someone who is a vegan and hasn't had dairy in so long that she's lactose intolerant. And someone was trying to get her, like telling her she had to drink this drink that had milk in it. And they're like, no, you have to try it. Like, whatever. Like, I hope she's
apparently it's a life-altering drink. Like
I won't get specifics because it's not my story. But basically, it was just like her basically trying to be like, and I have this problem too when people try to get me to eat meat. I'm like, I will be sick. Like, if you want to ignore that this is my choice, that's fine, but I will be sick. Are you okay with that?
I at least so far don't have the physical reaction because you've even been like, no, this one doesn't taste like anything. It's just like
I couldn't tell you to drink that drink. I just said it tastes like a fuzzy peach and you took it from my hand.
Yep, and then I spent the rest of the time going, nope. Nope.
Ah! I did not put that drink in your hand. You took it from me. I am a good friend, damn it. But no, it's like that's the thing, right? It's just like, but then you get, and then you have Bianca, the assumption being like, I don't drink at all, so that's what it means when he said it's usually their own, that's the social norms versus your own personal ideas and experiences. Yeah, hang-ups. There you go.
Well, it's an extreme word for it, but yeah.
But no, that's true.
But also funny how those two people were clearly very particular about the way they live their lives and the way that things are structured. And even though having some similar structures, I mean, her breaking thing was he couldn't dance, and so he embarrassed her to hell on that dance floor. But the fact is that so rigid that they couldn't actually be compatible having the same type of particulars, whereas Rosie, who's just like, I don't care what people think of me, fine, just start dancing and someone will get the beat to match you. As long as you give her, then who cares?
Awesome.
So she just started dancing with him, and it's like, aw, so sweet. And I think that's the other sad thing about Don is he's so used to being embarrassed that he's like unaffected by it. Like, I know I look like an idiot most of the time, so we'll just play it off that I'm funny.
But you know what? That's something that I do, like just admire / desire so much is I look like a fool.
They showed up in the tuxedo and
the morning thing, yeah.
What's wrong with it? He made a joke.
Did he though? I don't think that was a joke. I think he was just being like, yes, it was formal attire, hence this is what I'm wearing.
But it was okay,
He still accepted it, right? Because he's used to his students laughing at him when he like fumbles on those social cues that he doesn't understand. So he's just like, I'll accept it because I could be embarrassed and
I don't
feel
think he
bad
can
about
be
it, or I can
embarrassed
just
though.
roll with it.
I don't think like just the kind of person that he is that he really does embarrassment, because in his mind, like, well, this is how I interpret it, obviously. In his mind, he sees the world very black and white, and he see things like, ones and zero, and so embarrassment is once again kind of being like, oh, I didn't do the proper social cue.
Yeah,
for him, like, social cues like don't make any sense or don't have any value really to him. So I don't know if he can
that's
really
all
be
a learning
embarrassed.
curve. Yeah.
I guess a lot of embarrassment is social cue based. So yeah. So.
Okay. I don't know, before I go into that one, we were talking about this a little bit before, because this is the big one I want to lead up to. But anyway, before we get into that, we talked about, just before we went live, just some of those little fun moments with Dawn. And one of my favorites, that very small moment when he starts to pay attention to how Rosie expresses herself, and he gets fixated on the quotations, and then realizes this is an ingenious game in which we punctuate everything. It's just exclamation mark, question mark.
Totally. For me that was so funny, because in my for people who don't know, I'm taking Swedish lessons, and everyone in my class is from a different country and speaks a different language.
And punctuation will be totally different everywhere.
Punctuation is totally different, but also, like, we kind of were talking the other day, like, we want to learn about, as I'm doing it, body language and hand gestures of the Swedish, the typical Swedish person. Mm-hmm. And then as I do the air quotes, which is interesting, especially because we had one teacher who was like a temp teacher, and she used the air quotes all the time. And of course, I don't know, I use them all the time, so I don't notice. But one person in my class asked me, she's like, I don't, like, why does she use them? What does it mean? Because, of course, she's from a place where they don't have a ton of hand gestures with their language. So
because I grew up doing French school. Now, it's not a social practice. If they need to, they know what that is. But because French quotation punctuations are on the side, it was just like a class joke thing that if we needed to, we would just... on the side rather than the front. It's not a thing. At least I don't think it is. Like, it was established that no one goes around in France or Quebec going like this. But just because we wanted to acknowledge the difference in the quotation, because I guess we were getting nailed for using the straight up ones instead of the side ones. So just to reinforce that, no, when we are quoting en français.
Okay, so post-Fensta. Well, I guess in their book, they face the same way when they use them.
Well, doing proper French, I guess that works for like the embedded quotation. But if you actually do a line of dialogue, I don't know, you just like dash.
Yeah, no,
dash.
Dash. If you do dash, well, I don't know which way to push it. Yeah. Which of course my computer is like, what are you doing? Like, that was one of the things. So when I read this scene, I was just like, because of course for him, I was like, this is fun and interesting. I was like, oh, I need to give this to this person and be like, read this. This is what it means. Because of course I'm trying to explain it, and I'm trying to explain it in Swedish, and my vocabulary is always so extensive, and like, I don't know how to explain sarcasm.
Yeah.
Like,
it's kind of like an idiom too, you know?
Yeah.
There was a comedian that was talking about creating like sounds, particular things to
Victor
with punctuation.
The pianist, right? Yeah, I thought the same thing when I read that.
Yeah, about it. And then he makes all the little sounds.
Yeah.
That was the first thing I thought of too while he was going through it. But just that she's talking and he's like honing in not on what she's saying so much, but in where he can put in the all the punctuation. Yeah. And then he got stumped on one. He's like, what do I do to make this thing? And then he realizes the game's kind of done. And he's like, oh, but that was fun.
I'm like, I need to do this all the time now. Exclamation point. Period.
I love our books that give us those games, like when we had Paper Towns and the Guys That Gigolo and Metaphysical I Spy.
What?
Clearly you need to read Paper Towns.
Clearly I missed something there.
Yeah, Paper Towns by John Green. He has, like, they made up these
car games to pass the time.
So, like, that guy is a gigolo. Like, you pick person in the car next to you, and you like make up.
And you come up with a life story of like what they're doing and who they are. So that's.
That guy's a
yeah,
gigolo.
whoever can come up with the best story for the probability of who they are and what they're doing. So yeah, that guy is a gigolo.
That's pretty cool. I like that.
Yes.
It was awesome. But I would add the punctuation game into that. All the wonderful games we learn from books.
Yeah. Can we do an entire conversation like this?
No, because then I'd probably do it the same way I write. When I pause, like, to think. And I think I've gotten out of it now, but yeah, just always put the comma down, just because that's my pause, even though
I do that too.
It has. So I can't imagine trying to do it aloud and then being like.
I would just constantly do it. No, I do ellipses when I talk all the time, so I just be like. Just like sit there, like I figure
ellipses. I like that. I am terrible though. I end my sentences with "so" way too much. I'm kind of talking to my employer.
I start with so or well. You may notice from my text sometimes people, well, comma.
No, I do the if my statement. Right, so this was done, so, and I just leave it like that as, ellipses there. I'm terrible. All these things I have to change about myself.
Don't ever change.
I don't know that now that I'm noticing how often I do the so thing, it's kind of driving me mad.
When we were in high school, my then boyfriend said to me, "You know that you always end things with 'you know.'" And I didn't realize I did that, and then as soon as he told me, I realized I did it all the time.
Yeah.
You know?
I feel mortified now every time I catch myself doing it. And it's like, well, now there's been enough pause that I can't go back and salvage the sentence and add the other pause to it. It's just a loss. I sit there like, crap, now what?
Your sentence is a lost cause.
Yeah, but I realize I can see the crash and burn because I left it with the so, but it lingered too long. There's no going back. No.
Sentence sabotage.
Oh.
Sorry, tangent.
Tangent there. Oh, circling back. We
read a book.
At all.
Okay. Anything else before I do the big? There's one more character I want us to talk about, and one more situation that comes up at the end. Anything else about Dawn, Jean, Claudia, any of the encounters?
And I think we've kind of looked at a lot of them already.
All right, Phil, because he is the reason for the Father Project. Rosie has been convinced by her mother that the man who she has always assumed to be her father is not her father because of eye color, does not match genetic law as far as Rosie's mother was concerned. And Rosie's relationship with Phil has been complete and utter turmoil because he did not take her to Disneyland like he promised after her mother had passed.
Something which he thought didn't matter at all because he'd just gotten out of rehab, right?
Yeah, from the crash, yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Can you guys hear the background noise?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that the cat?
No, yeah, can you please?
Having some marital issues over there.
Someone's gaming. It's fine.
Well, when that was brought forth, once again, this is probably just my own fault there. When he said that, I had a problem with it because I was in my head, I was well, obviously that's not a good reason because eye color doesn't work that way. And
I know, that was my thought too.
That's my initial thought. And I was why are they basing this on this? That makes no sense to me. And so that carried on. And I was it made me even more confused. Then
it was high school science class. It's not that advanced. So I'm curious, why?
Well, I see it because it is a general rule. It is true. It is more difficult because it's a recessive gene, and in a very, very small way.
Somewhere.
Yeah.
Like,
But
they're
the
still
recessive is not impossible in any means.
Well, I mean, anything could happen. Like, she could have freaking rainbow-colored eyes. It could
For
happen.
example, my dad's mom has brown eyes, and my dad has blue eyes.
There you go.
So
that definitely like threw me.
It needed something more than just the eye color to seem like a substantial claim about a note couldn't possibly be like the fact that she did sleep around. Okay, yes, maybe, but.
But you would think then she would like, okay, I slept around and the baby doesn't look like my husband. Maybe I should test her before I tell him that this isn't your daughter.
Would they have had the paternal tests
that
early?
That's actually true. Yeah, that would be hard.
Because the DNA testing didn't happen until like late 80s, right? That was when they started doing a lot of the DNA testing.
Or it would have been like really expensive.
It would have been expensive. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So and then she died fairly young. When Rosie was fairly young, so it wouldn't have been. But you think Rosie could have done it herself rather than going collecting all the thousands of other potential daddies.
Yeah,
just being like, hey, Phil, we're getting this sorted because there's bad blood between us. But my thing, and loved Rosie Project up to the end, because aside from the fact that he may not be her father, why was not only Rosie, but all the other people who knew her and her father so upset about his treatment of her when it all came down to Disneyland? What else was there?
I was waiting, honestly, like when she said Disneyland, I'm like, that's not it. I'm waiting for the... Yeah.
There's got to be a bigger underlying reason than just that. And she's
I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop. Disneyland is the excuse. It's not the actual...
Yeah.
Like, I got that he was distant because he just lost his wife. But also the whole her being fed that he's not the real dad and all that. But he still was there, and I just don't get where that immense hatred, not just from Rosie, I can get her being upset and kind of petty like that. But there was at one point they met another scientist who's like, don't go there. Don't go there. Don't bring up the bad blood between them. So I was waiting for something like serious, like is he like a violent alcoholic like child beater? Like what?
No, exactly. I was waiting for this huge like unveiling moment, especially like when Dawn goes to like
confront him.
Yeah, I'm like waiting for this like realization, something. No, it's just Disneyland.
And then it gets all resolved with a ticket to Disneyland, and it's like, really? Now it's good because you finally went to Disneyland? I would have been happier if she would have been like, no, it wasn't really Disneyland, it was just one thing that I never could get over, and then just her and Dawn went to Disneyland and had a good time. That would have sat better with me than taking Dad along and everyone being like, yay, what a happy family now.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Like, really? Everything
that
was
made me
going
not
so
like Rosie.
well.
I kind of, up to that point, I was like, oh yeah, same thing. I was like, oh, obviously it's gonna be like crazy happy, like, oh my gosh, what's layers? And then that, like you say, like there was no other shoe. And I was just like, seriously? Like, you're just such a whiny little brat.
It's just petty.
Like, come on.
Well, especially though, like, you're an adult now.
I don't know about that. Well, what do you say, Gregory? I'm not too sure about this.
No, not you, obviously.
Well, and especially after they figure out that it was the dad, and even if he was convinced that he wasn't, he still had carried that hurt with him and raised her and cared for her that whole time. So, like, he should be
her out of
more
the
credit than just
Oh, was maybe that the reason? Because he pulled her out?
There was probably a bit of, because of course first it's that animal parental protective instinct, right? But then I did suspect that at least from his part, there might have been a bit of like, I saved you and not her. You're not even mine.
But they didn't build up the distance. They just built up Disneyland.
Yeah,
and that was the problem. If Disneyland could still be a thing, but I think if we had touched upon more of the underlying issue, which there had to have been, because otherwise Rosie is like one of the worst people on the face of the planet. Like, really.
Wow.
How many other kids get disappointed with a promise to Disneyland and never get to go? So I think really you're gonna
dwell on that.
Hate someone forever.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not exactly worth a 20-year grudge.
No, right?
Yeah, totally.
That can get resolved.
You're all grown up now.
Yeah, I definitely started to really like dislike her by the end of the book because like there wasn't like any like giant like secret. It was just her kind of just being like, "I'm disappointed with you, Daddy. You didn't love me enough." And I was like, "Seriously?"
And that's
like,
why
yeah,
I'm
he
not
did
going to
pull you
medical
out of the car. Like he stuck with you even though there was all this like bad blood. Like he
Or for all we know,
deserves a medal.
I'm sure she was being like, you know, like horrid to him because of that, and I don't remember if he knew that was why, but like
No, he was baffled. He was like, "Are you kidding me? That's
so
it?"
okay, I'm gonna give you your space because we both know you're not my daughter, and like your mother's gone, and clearly you hate me, so I'm not gonna try to be a dad to you. Like,
But no, he did the best he could being a single dad. She was all like, "Rah," and but then I would have appreciated it if Dawn had done the gesture, because I think that was something of, logically, Disneyland was the issue, so Disneyland's going to be the solution. If I just take her to Disneyland, then everything will be fine. But I wish it wasn't as simple as that. I wish she wasn't that predictable.
That's Dawn's logical solution, which makes sense for.
And it would be so sweet to see him make that effort when there'd be something larger underlying. Be like, okay, well, we'll go to Disneyland. Thanks for doing that, but I have to take time to work things out with my dad, as opposed to, oh, we just went to Disneyland and it was such fun, and now we're a happy family.
They like all go on a family ride to like Magic Mountain and come out the end. They're like just soaked in the water, and there's a perfect picture moment for a family. Like that's just it's just so unrealistic that would solve everything.
Yeah.
Like it would solve something for Dawn and like having like this like family outing thing with the woman who's going to be his wife. But again, that shouldn't solve the daddy issues that have made her, break into offices and steal blood samples. And
Yep.
Oh, weird. Church bells. I'm usually not up this early. I never hear them. Like, what is this thing called morning?
I don't know what it is.
No. That's what happens when you have night classes and work at a bar.
Thing called sun? What's that?
Crazy.
I see it sometimes at lunch, but then it goes away.
Oh yeah, especially for you.
Get vitamin D. We're walking for half an hour in the sun. It's not here that long.
That's gonna suck. It literally was like 13 degrees out today or yesterday. I had a sweater on.
That's cool. I'm still wearing my super boots with the fleece lining and the.
Ooh.
It's actually not that cold, but.
What? Only -2?
I'm just looking. I'm curious. Well, it's been snowing all week, off and on.
Anything else? Anyone want to add in some awards in the next minute or so before we?
I do actually have an award that didn't get posted.
I have an award too, so go ahead.
I haven't settled on which combination of the names, but for Gene, I think Caitlin, I might have mentioned this to you. For Gene, I either kind of want to give him the Leonard Wolowitz or the Howard. Oh God, what's his? I like him. There we go, Howard Hofstadter. Because I found that Gene was such a combination of those two characters for me from Big Bang that it made me laugh constantly trying to combine them into a 50-something-year-old.
I like it.
So Howard Hofstadter or Leonard.
I think the Wolowitz, just because. Oh.
Leonard Wolowitz. Yeah.
I'll save. I mean, I don't know how the awards work here. I'm going off into uncharted territory here. I'll save the award for my favorite line in the book, simply because it's just I love because it just shows you exactly the way he thinks and exactly how like rational he views the world. And it's so interesting to me because like I really think rationally, and it sometimes comes across really cold, even if it's not trying to be that way. And I definitely see how a lot of people could interpret like how he says this line as a very cold thing. But if you obviously he has such strong feelings towards it, but this is how he expresses himself. Is on page 15 when he's talking about his sister. it explains that, oh yeah, they have meetings, and this is how she looks like, and she likes to call him, and then due to a gross and inexcusable medical incompetence, she is now dead. And then he goes forth like nothing had. Like, he just says that and goes forward to another line about something totally different. And I just love how he, it's dropped on you so suddenly, and like so. And I actually like remember reading it, being like, oh, what?
Well, it's funny because he says that exact phrase all the time, which tells you that he has like this like.
It's scripted now.
He's put it together. Yeah.
That way of describing it is like, oh, that's painful for him. Like, and he's just not looking at it.
Yeah.
Well, he just doesn't see it that way. Like, it's just an interesting way to express that, and it really just showed you like how he is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Anyways, that was my award.
The beautiful logical mind. So how do we want to word the...
Would it be the gross medical incompetence award for practical... Oh no, my English is failing me.
Is this practical grieving?
Practical grieving?
I would put practical something of affection. For the practical...
A practical assessment of affection?
Yeah, maybe. Oh no.
Okay, that's the practical assessment of affection. And for Gene, something that indicates that he's a womanizer. So the Hofstadter-Wolowitz Award.
I can see that, yeah.
Yeah.
The creepy old man Hofstadter-Wolowitz.
Yep.
How do I even spell these things?
Oh, that I don't know.
I could Google search it, but I'm going with instinct. So do we want just the Hofstadter-Wolowitz, or?
Yeah, that works.
Good luck.
I made a guess, and that's what I'm going with. Sounds like there should be a Z in there.
Wolowitz, yep. I'm hoping Wolowitz.
Okay.
I'm trying to think.
So I've got a list. Like, I read this book in 2 days, and the first thing I did was pull out all of my sticky notes for all the things I love. So on the Hofstadter-Wolowitz account, Don Tillman for the Sheldon Cooper Award.
Yep.
Someone also mentioned in another review how convenient it is that Don comes from.
I think I read that
Sheldon.
review. Sheldon.
Yeah. They're like,
you put like Shell and then in brackets Don.
But I can't deny it's very easy to picture Don as being Sheldon. Like, that was the face that I had on him the whole time.
Oh, yeah.
I actually made it really difficult to picture him as being Australian the whole time. I really couldn't put him. No, I could get the athleticness, so just because how he was like so formal about describing it, but trying to put his dialogue into an Australian accent, Apparently, I can't come up with a very blunt Australian accent that fits him. I think he was British for most of the book for me, and then
that's close.
I couldn't get him to Australian with I don't know. I just couldn't find a place for the inflections there. It did not compute. But I've had this problem with our Australian books. I have a tough time putting my brain in Australia. When we read Light Between Oceans, I was like, wait, what's going on?
We need to do a book club trip to Australia.
So that we can immerse ourselves in it. We are now ready for Australian literature.
Along with our bar hop along England.
Yes.
I like it.
All of the British authors drank.
For me, because like I generally like I like to do audiobooks because I just love like listening to them when I'm like doing things or like running around on the go, like in between shit. So I actually, for the most part, listened to this book, and the guy who reads it is obviously in an Australian accent. So like obviously it fit for me totally fine. But now that you say that, like I can totally understand how if you're just reading it,
I'm gonna have to listen to this
really
now.
like a different thing. Oh, it's awesome. But like, I really see how that's actually like an issue if you're not listening to that and already have that mind frame.
Yeah.
Well, just because I can picture it, right? The correct, right? This is the
Yeah.
logical way
Yeah.
of this, and it's just
Yeah.
I probably because I've never heard an Australian speak that way, so it's really difficult for me. I'm sure this happens and this exists somewhere with an Australian accent, but my brain it's not.
Yeah.
Just like
Yeah,
I have a
totally
tough
catalog.
time accepting the winter during summer months and so that stuff. It's not working. I'm too pre-programmed my way. I have a wall. It's very excluding to Australian things. I must
Racist.
fix this. I have a problem. Oh, I'm sorry. All right. The Punctuation Game Award, because it was the cutest thing ever. I also nominated Tillman for the Master Barman Award because he's a freaking wizard.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
The Dirty Dancing Skeleton Award because apparently there are 1,000 different ways to misuse medical props.
Which, by the way, is really creepy because I was rereading the awards beforehand, and I just watched an episode of Supernatural where there may or may not be a medical dummy that comes to life.
I
Just
cannot
like imagine
see
that.
this one.
I was like no spoilers. This is like a moment, maybe or not. But like, I mean, like this creepy.
I saw the museum one and I thought of that a little bit. Didn't see a medical one.
No, it was a medical dummy.
I'm still like 3 seasons off from being caught up.
I'm only on season 6, and there's like 10 or something.
Well,
So.
oh, at least season 6? Jesus Christ, I think
I
I've seen
know,
like
right?
4 episodes.
I haven't had cable in 5 years, Natasha.
Fair enough, fair enough.
I use Netflix, and now I use Swedish Netflix.
Ooh.
It is nowhere near as caught up as Canadian. Okay.
Fair enough, fair enough.
I have limited exposure.
I also have the Shake It Award because that's just how Mr. Timon rolls on the dance floor.
Like it.
The Spider-Man Award for Don's spontaneous wall crawling in New York City.
I was actually thoroughly impressed by that. 4 stars.
Yeah.
Like, you gotta imagine that. And I love how he was just like, oh yeah, whatever, that's totally makes sense. Let's just climb down this building.
Which thank goodness he has that analytical mind that's like weighing the pros and cons of things, because if he was just going on pure instinct, he would be a pancake.
Yeah.
Well, especially because he gets up and he's like, oh, and I underestimated how many footholds there would be or something like that. But he still just like figures out.
Just deals with it.
Yeah, like you said earlier, how he's like, even though he's so in his ways and set, he's still very malleable. He's ready to kind of just go with the things.
Yeah. All right. And my last one, maybe there'll be some contention on this one, I don't know. I nominated Gene the Douchebag for the Worst Husband of the Year award. If anyone would like to argue that one against me, go for it.
I don't think I can argue that one.
I'm not arguing that.
Especially since it's
I'll
the
take
first
that
book
ball.
of the year.
I'll take that ball. In this instinct, like in this, and just his relationship, because obviously, even though Claudia was amazing, she wasn't really on board, but like, 10,000 points to her that she wanted to give her freedom. But I do think because like, obviously, I mean, he's a womanizer, but he also loves what he does. He wants to have that kind of science behind it. Had the relationship with Claudia been different, like maybe she was also, seeing other partners, then I don't think it would have been such an issue. But it wasn't that he was being I mean, yes, obviously, in a lot of sense, he was being a douchebag, but I think it wasn't so much him as the fact that Claudia, even though she was on board, wasn't on board. So unless both parties,
there still had to be guilt there because he wasn't entirely open. If he had assumed that it was open, he would still have been secretive about it, and saying, "Oh no, I'm just hanging out with Dawn, and I'm just going to work to do this." Yeah.
Yeah, he lied about it, and like if you're going to be
did
open,
lie a
you
lot.
have
That's
to be
true.
open.
And that's always worse, right? It's not the infidelity, it's the lying and the sneaking around.
I agree.
So having a wife like that, even if he assumed that she'd be good with it, she shouldn't have been getting secondhand information from Dawn about it.
Yeah.
especially poor Dawn, not knowing exactly what that means.
Well, because if Jean says it's an open relationship and she's cool with it, he's not gonna think that his best friend's lying to him.
He's going to assume that she's in the know.
Especially because when he does say things, she is so calm about it because she's not going to blame Dawn for her husband's behavior.
Yeah, you have to give her like 1,000 points for that. Like she definitely
she's
handled
like
it like a
the
boss.
wife of the year award.
Yeah,
I'm gonna add that.
Oh, add that.
Yeah, she's the wife of the year.
Yes, I agree with that.
Coffee looks delicious.
I know, I was just staring at that too. I was like, what is she drinking? Oh, wow.
Wait, this one?
Yeah. It looks
It's
really
just,
it's so fancy.
believe it or not, it's just coffee.
Well, it looks really fancy.
Yes, but it's not. But I have not coffee.
So am I removing the Jean worst husband or tweaking it somehow to reflect his lying deceitfulness?
Well, I guess you could say of the year, because we haven't really explored any other options so far.
And
that's the thing. It's the first. Yeah, it's the first book of our season, so another
far,
husband.
Collection. Yeah.
Another
Character,
husband
not
could
you.
steal the award from him, right?
Did Kevin think we're talking about him? Worst husband of the year.
We've gone past the literature. I mean, we do bring a lot of personal things into it, but yes, we're now giving awards for spouses who are not privy to this information to be able to defend themselves.
No.
The Secret Husband Haters Club, that's what we are now.
We are the worst secret husband haters club since you and I love our husbands and they aren't married.
Except to Gregory here.
Yes, but you are Black Widowing Gregory. So.
He's a bit of a badass, so we have a very crazy relationship.
As long as you are both open and accepting about it, and honest about what your intentions and expectations are, then it's perfectly acceptable if you love each other to the point of consumption.
It's true. I mean, he fools around with that juicer a lot, but I'm okay with that. I'm all right with that.
As long as you're communicating about
We
it.
communicate about it.
I'm glad Natasha's here.
I was saying to Caitlin earlier, I was like, I don't know if I could join your book club because I'm a little insane and I'm sure they want to
You're
be all
fitting right in.
structural.
Oh, it's fine. Don't worry about it.
I have someone to bounce off of in another
It was
direction.
literally my biggest fear. I told Caitlin earlier, I was like, oh, I've actually wanted to join for a while, but I was like, oh, I'm not really structural, and I don't know if they're gonna want to talk about the pros, and I just want to make fun of things. So glad to know that it's all good.
Yeah, I was like, no, you're fine. Don't worry about it. It's good. It'll be fine.
Yeah, book club, not lit club.
Good to know. Marvelous. Yeah, I don't have any more awards.
That's all that I've got posted here. I haven't seen anyone nominate any other ones. Apparently, Supernatural was what episode you're referring to is season 4. So
that's what I've been told, but I'm thinking of a different one.
Because if it was season 4, I've passed it, but I seriously don't remember. But then again, I'm a goldfish, so you know what? I could have watched that thing 5 times, and it's just
it's a castle. It's a castle.
I know I'm watching season 6. I watched it but there might be more than one, and I'm not talking about similar-ish types of things, but.
I wouldn't be surprised if I have no idea what I'm talking about because I misremember everything every single time.
I don't even remember which season it is that I'm actually in.
I'm solving that problem now.
It's always useful.
We just finished avoiding the apocalypse for the first time, so that's why I know, because we just did a season flip over. If I were mid-season, I'd be confused again, but no, we did wrap up season 5, and we are now into season 6, and I've never seen Matt so happy about I'm an angel figure. He is loving Cass ridiculously. Like the
so
little
much.
giggly face. This is great. So yeah.
Thank you. Season 6, episode 14.
So
Thank
I'm
you,
in the
Shannon.
right. I'm in the right season. I'm just not at that episode yet.
Mannequin
Okay.
3, The Reckoning is the name of the episode.
Well, I will get there at some point, and
So,
I will probably think of Don Tillman and his usage of medical equipment.
And, what was it? The reverse cowgirl version 2?
The reverse cowboy.
Ah.
Yeah, variation 2.
Or something.
There
there
you
may
go.
be an episode in season 4 because this is Mannequin 3 is the name of the episode, but the one I just watched was 6:14. Thank you, Stephen.
Okay. This is why we have the Q&A stuff and the Twitter and everything, so we get this
Very
valuable
important.
information to advance our discussions. Even that's more on topic than some of these questions that are coming out. Sorry if we haven't addressed your questions, but just follow
Wait,
along.
how is what episode a mannequin comes on life on
Because we were
Supernatural?
discussing it. We were discussing
like,
it. It
how
was
is that
actually on
advancing?
topic.
And then we were
I mean,
discussing which season,
good
and then we were arguing about which season.
I know.
So someone has
I was
said
just making fun of us being like,
I know.
advancing our discussion.
That's Curious Endeavourances. We do things curiously.
I like it.
Serious relevancy.
Yes. All right. So that's awards. We'll go around for final ratings. So what did you... Final thoughts and ratings?
So sorry, I gave it a 5 because I loved it. Whatever the issues might have been, I devoured that thing in less than 9 hours.
Meow.
Good.
So there.
I think I actually also finished it relatively quickly. It took me a few days. I gave it a 4 out of 5 because I did have a couple issues connecting, but overall, just the number of moments where I burst out laughing reading this, it definitely earned all 4 of those stars.
Cool.
Natasha?
I will give it a 3.94.
Clearly, we're using Natasha's scale, just like Rosie time.
Yes.
We're on Natasha time. Because
On Natasha's scale.
there you go, Natasha's scale. Because yeah, a lot of the things like I did find for me, especially because like I have my crazy rational mind, I loved how it was written. I really connected with that style, and I liked, even though it was a romance story, and like a lot of the times like I don't like romantic stories, 'cause it's just like, oh, it's just so overdone, and the love and the gestures and the flowers, like I just find that really boring. But I loved how it was a romance that was just kind of like in the way that I would see romance, and so and it's such a cool thing because that's just not really out there, right? I know I'm a crazy cold-hearted bitch, and so like I love that, and like so many times I really connected because he would say things I'm like, oh my god, yeah, that's right, and so I really like that. The reason I am slightly off of the 4 was because like I like at the end of the book there I was like, oh, you know, like it kind of just like fell flat. The Rosie character at the end, I was just like, seriously, bitch, come on, nut up. Like, and there was definitely like a couple of things were just like, even though like yeah, like the eye color thing, there was just some things that were like, not quite jiving. But overall, I thoroughly enjoyed the idea behind it.
I'm gonna jump in with a tangent just because of Natasha's description. She should have been there for our paranormal romance because I would have loved to hear the reaction to the, all right, we're about to have tantric sex, but first, let's brush our teeth.
Oh my god, I love that! That makes total sense!
Well, we're reading another paranormal romance next, so maybe.
I hope there's toothbrushing. Maybe some floss action? That's awesome.
Well, especially after all the vomiting that took place. They really did need to brush their teeth.
Oh my god.
You should have been there. You needed to be there.
Maybe there's vomiting in the next one. One can hope.
Well, it is paranormal, and if it's following supernatural stuff, then, well, I've seen a few vomiting episodes. All right. My rating, from the first page on, I thought this was going to be a 5 because I absorbed it so much, but that ending, and it just, and I didn't even realize how much the ending bothered me until I'd sat on it for a few days because I finished it. I'm like, this was an amazing book, but something isn't sitting right. And after a while, I thought over it. I'm like, no, that's it. It didn't wrap up. It was heading in such a good direction, and it just didn't fit well. And the fill issue bothered me so much that even though it was a pleasure to read, I loved it. It was so entertaining, and it took no time at all. Like it just ate it all up. But the ending didn't do it the justice that it really could have, because there could have been so many ways to salvage that and make it worthwhile. And they still could have gone to Disneyland, and it still could have been Dawn the Hero.
Freaking Disneyland.
But it needed to follow through with that, with Rosie feeling hurt, especially when the other scientists are like, "Oh, don't go there." There's some there's foreboding there, so we needed more of that foreboding, or it should have just been like, "Oh yeah, Rosie's touchy." Don't make it a Phil issue, make it a Rosie issue.
Yeah.
So I ended up giving it a 4, just because I wanted to give it a 5, but that ending just it didn't sell it for me. All right.
For our next pick.
Caitlin, your pick is next. Did you want to introduce what's coming up for February?
So I was going to pick something else, but there was a request a couple of months ago for more smut.
Ooh!
From a viewer. You know who you are.
Eyebrows.
I don't know. I haven't read this. I don't know if it has smut. I know that the other series is amazing. I know the author is really good. That's why I chose this one. And it's supposed to be smuttier than the other series, which doesn't get smutty until the 3rd book. So I'm hoping the 1st book has some of the smut. There's a paranormal romance called On the Edge by Alona Andrews. That's autograph there.
Looks like there's Fabio on the cover there, so I'm guessing there's
yeah, there is. Thank you, Julia. All right. So, Rose Drayton lives on the edge between 2 worlds. On one side lies the Broken, a place where people shop at Walmart and magic is nothing more than a fairy tale. On the other is the Weird, a realm where blue blood aristocrats rule and the strength of your magic can change your destiny. Only edgers like Rose can easily travel between the worlds, but they never truly belong in either. Rose thought that if she practiced her magic, she could build a better life for herself, but things didn't turn out the way she'd planned, and now she works an off-the-books job in the Broken just to survive. Then, Declan Cameron, a blue-blood noble straight out of the deepest part of the Weird, comes into her life determined to have Rose and her power.
Ooh.
But when a terrible danger invades the edge, a flood of creatures hungry for magic, Declan and Rose must overcome their differences and work together to destroy them, or the beasts will devour the edge and everyone in it.
Exclamation point.
Not really.
I'm just going to wait for the shower scene in this one. ...
No, this one's the ellipses.
I like it.
Yeah. So.
Oh.
You're good. So yeah. I read her. I started reading. I read part of her other series, the Kate Daniels books, which are amazing. So happy you like this one, because you didn't like my last pick, my paranormal one.
I didn't like. Clearly, I have some fond memories of it. But to be honest, I'm not a romance reader, so the fact that I'm giving it as much of a chance as I am is saying something.
I read your historical fiction, you read my paranormal romance.
I'm reading it, and I'm finding enjoyment in it, even if it's not the way I'm supposed to.
I don't even want to know what that means.
Well, I was going to say, to be quite fair, I seem to be the one that keeps throwing historical fiction into the mix.
Yeah, both of you. But
Including
you like paranormal romance, so it's hard for me to shove it in your face.
Fair enough.
Alright.
Cool.
Anyone else have... Okay, anyone have anything else to say before we log off?
We are creeping towards the end of the 3-month challenge for anyone who decides to sign up for that. I'll be making my Cone of Shame video later this week. Yeah.
Further
don't
explanation
have to say
on Code of Shame? What is that?
Okay, so basically what happened is that we wrote a novel for NaNoWriMo. You know,
Oh, yeah,
Tasha,
that's right.
November.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Remember the word I
and
can
then
never pronounce?
Yes, our NaNoWriMo there. Yeah, so 3 month novel challenge was have to actually finish the whole first draft completely in 3 months. So just the first draft, not like edited or anything, but so that's the end of this month from when we started in Nano. And if we don't, we have to make a video, the Cone of Shame video, taken from when Ashley forgot to read the book and forgot when the meeting was. And
Caitlin called me like 20 minutes before we were starting. She's like, you do know this is coming because I haven't heard from you in weeks. I'm like, what? Yeah.
okay,
Very exciting.
The author, just the question, it's Ilona Andrews.
Is that not up on our Goodreads right now?
It takes it, because it said as to read and to start today, it takes it down, so I have to repost it as reading. So it will be on the Goodreads page for Curious Endeavourances. So it's On the Edge, Ilona Andrews.
Good to know.
With Fabio.
No, that's clearly Declan.
He's going to be Fabio. While I'm reading it, all I'm going to think of is Fabio.
He doesn't have broken bird nose, so it can't be Fabio from any time.
It's true, it's true.
Even though, I was going to say anytime soon, even though that was like 10 years ago. But I still remember when that was like front page news. Fabio on the roller coaster, hit in the face by bird.
I don't know what you're talking
Women
about
everywhere were in pain from it. No, not his beautiful face, anyone but Fabio. What was he doing on that roller coaster?
Where are the 3-year-old children?
Why would you be on a roller coaster, Fabio? You're too pretty for roller coasters. I don't know, that's what you sound like. That's what you sound like they sound like.
Very exciting.
Okay. If that's it, we'll see you February 22nd.
Exciting. Hopefully I'll have more than 2 hours sleep. Fingers crossed.
Last Sunday of the month. That's how it works.
We'll try not to have really drunk people that want to stay all night in my bar. That'll be a thing I try and do.
You should try.
I should try. Although, oh my gosh, I just have to tell the world. Tonight, the lead singer of Mother Mother came and sat at my bar, and it was quite amazing. He gave me an orange. Is the coolest thing. I really wish I could just like encase it so it wouldn't rot forever.
Like
preserve bronze.
The orange.
The orange
was a pretty big deal, guys.
I know.
Anyways. All right.
All right. So February 22nd, On the Edge, Ilona Andrews. They will all be on the Goodreads page. Links will be posted. Or you can just go on Goodreads and search Curious Endeavourances and find us. And yes, we'll see you and go read things.
Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh, no.
It's still going.